Hi guys and welcome to a new video on Sonal's life. So last time you all saw me, I was fangirling about Shota Umino and Aussie Open after going to see RevPro in Manchester. Well, I am back with New Japan, and after like what seems like forever, we've had two big shows this weekend. We had the two big New Japan shows at MetLife Stadium. Now, it was a lot of wrestling going on over the weekend, and I thought, instead of doing like two separate reviews for each night, I was sort of just going to combine them all together. And so I did like a whistle-stop tour of it all. There are some matches I'm going to miss out because they might not be as important. There is some heartbreak, some controversy, some badassness, so let's get going. Before I start on the actual main cards for each show, I have got to say that each show, and it was actually shown this time on New Japan World, started with some Stardom matches. This was actually probably the best thing to make me want to subscribe to them. The women came out looking badass as hell and put on an amazing show. So if you were like me and you accidentally overslept, make sure to go back and watch the show on demand and make sure you catch the first match on each night because it is definitely worth it. On the first night, that was the 4th of September, we started the show off with a traditional tag match, and we had Tiger Mask and Robbie Eagles going up against Hiromu and Ibushi, obviously ahead of their match on the 5th, which was for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. As expected, it was a really good battle between juniors. We got to see Hiromu and Robbie have this feeling out process, because if you remember, apart from his match with Doki that he had, which, by the way, stunning, go and watch it, Hiromu has not wrestled for what seems like months, and especially not wrestled Robbie Eagles, who, before Hiromu was injured, was actually in Australia because of the pandemic. As expected, Robbie Eagles got the pin over Ibushi, which is kind of weird because I thought Tiger Mask was the one who was going to get pinned. But a really nice way to start the show, and you know what, it's always nice to see Hiromu start off because he is crazy and I love it. After the excitement of that, it was what my heart was literally, I didn't want, and it was the match between Sho and Yo. Obviously, if you watched the previous Super Junior Tag League, during their match against El Desperado and Kanemaru, when Yo was trapped in a submission, Sho just walked off, basically hit the shock arrow on him, and disbanded Roppongi 3K, which was meant to be for live. That wasn't hard enough. This match was awful to watch. Like, it was actually, like, the match itself was amazing. There's always been, like, a sort of discussion, a sort of criticism from guys like Despy, that Yo never has this passion. Compared to the very, like, headstrong, adrenaline-based Sho, Yo has always been very cool, calm, and collected. That went out the window for this match. From the very beginning, you could see this animosity. From Sho, it's obviously something that's been building for months. But for Yo, it's this betrayal. Someone who he has been with for 4 years. They trained in the dojo together. They went on excursion. They came back together. They have literally been through it all. At one point, we saw Sho go for the chair, and when Yo kicked it out, he went for it as well. You would never normally see Yo go for a chair. Sho maybe because of, like, he has this thing where he doesn't think. And I think we saw that from Yo. He saw that Sho was this completely different person. He took all the best parts of what the golden, like the shock arrow is, so the strength, the power, but elevated it and just became this perfect heel. Not just because he had a change of hair, change of gear, change of music, which is very badass and made me very conflicted. Like I said, Sho perfectly played to this heel. He was going on the outside, he was trying to avoid Yo. Everything that isn't the core of Chaos and isn't the core of Roppongi 3K. On the other side, my Yo, who in the past I've always struggled to pick between the two, is my firm favourite, was trying to balance his sort of heart and soul, but going against an opponent he knows so well. In the end, Sho won, which I guess is the right decision considering you can't just disband a group and then lose. However, the most heartbreaking thing was after that match, when the Bullet Club came out. I've said this on social media. I wanted Sho to join Suzuki-gun. They are probably the best faction in the world. And the idea now that he's added to the Bullet Club, which already has loads of members, and this new really shitty subunit called the House of Torture, which is Evil, Dick Togo, and Yujiro. I know, Sho, I'm sorry, you could do so much better. Yeah, it was a really heartbreaking match, and to see that happen at the end literally could it was the icing on top of the shit cake. We'll see how this goes, but I know Yo's gonna come back. Best of Super Junior should be soon, and I want him to get his retribution. The next match was for the King of Pro Wrestling title, and it was between Toru Yano and Chase Owens. It was so different. So we normally see with the King of Pro Wrestling trophy, Yano comes out very fun. He came out with a new hairstyle, and for some people who didn't understand why this was such a big thing, it is the hair he last had when he was in GBH with Makabe and Honma, when he was properly like a badass heel. And I don't think Chase Owens expected that. He didn't expect a proper no DQ, like, I quit match. And I normally don't like these sort of things. Like, you've seen that gimmick matches for me are not the best. But this was pretty damn good. There was leather straps, there was handcuffs, there was keys for the handcuffs, there was kendo sticks. To change the sort of comedic complexion, this was a really good match. Both men worked together so well. I mean, it took a lot. There was like a handcuffs, Yano threw the key, there was all sorts. He got the win in the end. Now, I'd normally be like, oh, this is so exciting, we're going to have the comedic King of Pro Wrestling title, but nobody knows. Are we going to get the fun-loving Yano back, or are we going to get GBH Yano back? The next match was another special singles match, and it was between Kazuchika Okada and Jeff Cobb. Going into this, I wasn't very excited. Like, Jeff Cobb has been losing a hell of a lot. Okada's been winning and losing, and I went in expecting it was just going to be an Okada, like, sweep out, because it's Okada, isn't it? No. It actually went the longest on this, like, card. It was 27 minutes. And holy God, like, it proves these two are two of the best in the world. Like, two big men who are extremely athletic, agile. And there was just, like, it was basically, like, who could do a better dropkick? And you know what? As much as I love Okada's, Jeff Cobb rivals it for someone of his size. And also, considering, like, they are heels, the United Empire, and Okan was on the side, again, as expected, unlike Bullet Club, it was a very clean match. And shockingly, in the end, after a tour of the islands, Jeff Cobb got the win. Obviously gutted because I love Okada, but it was the right decision. Time after time, especially since obviously Aaron Hanare and obviously Ospreay are not in the company at the moment, the other two have been sort of picking up losses, not really gaining momentum for this newest faction, which started off seeming pretty badass. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes, especially into G1 season, but great match. And a really nice warm-up to literally what I have called the most handsome match of the year. It was for the IWGP United States Championship between my favourite, most handsome person in the world, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and the Golden Star coach Ibushi. This was a really emotional match, and you could see Ibushi crying at the start because he's obviously not been wrestling for seems like months after literally having illness after illness. It was a really conflicting because you know I always loved Tanahashi. But it's part of me wanted Ibushi to win. He's had a tough ride. He created a title nobody liked, won said title, lost said title. Like, when it comes to Ibushi, like, he doesn't always have the best luck. In terms of match itself, it was a pure babyface versus babyface match. These two guys have got very different styles. Ibushi is literally like, he don't care. He will flip, he will do anything, he will strike. Tanahashi, he has that flair and that unpredictability, but also that very traditional strong style that we love in Japan. And these two went at it for like 17 solid minutes, trading. There was one point where they were just both giving forearms in the center of the ring. They know each other so well. And I honestly think, like, I love seeing them go up against each other. They're good as tag team partners, but even better as opponents. Obviously, in the end, with a high five flow, 1, not 2, because I think Tana's realized you go for any more, you're at risk. He got the win, and it was just really nice it was a great way to end the first night. I mean, he almost left without air guitaring, but we got that, and it was a great build. As expected, another tag match to start. It was Tomohiro Ishii, welcome back, and Okada versus Okan and Cobb. Weirdly enough, they are building on the United Empire success by having Okan beat Ishii. Bad that it had to be Ishii. Good booking, I think, in the sense, like, New Japan, no, head of G1, you need to build up this very tiny faction. Then we got up to the title matches. So there was 4 title matches in a row. The first one was for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championships, Junior Heavyweight Tag Championships, and it was between the champions El Phantasmo and Taiji Shimori who had the stupid extension in again. I just don't like it. And obviously my Suzuki-gun boys, El Desperado and Kanemaru. Going into it, well, we know Bullet Club are cocky as hell, especially when it comes to El Phantasmo. However, from the very beginning, Despy and Kanemaru were very smart. Oddly enough, whenever it comes to Bullet Club, Suzuki-gun will always be the baby faces. It's just a shoo-in. But they didn't get rid of their heelist tactics. From the very beginning, they were targeting El Phantasmo's leg. The one with this sudden death kick, which literally, I will talk about this later, I still don't know what is in it. But it was great. Like, I know I've said that Kanemaru is very underrated, people need to respect him more. But this match really showcased just how good he was. His interactions with Ishimori are always amazing. Like, we know from all the way back in Noah, they have this long-standing rivalry with Ishimori's allergy to Kanemaru. But then Despy as well, his interactions with El Phantasmo, who's very different to him in style and personality. And it told a story. So halfway through the match, Kanemaru started undoing El Phantasmo's boot. Because that's the thing with New Japan, they have stuck to this sudden death thing. Nobody's been able to know what it is, but they've carried it on. However, it didn't shy away from it. Theoretically, it was actually a very clean match. There was a bit of tomfoolery because when Bullet Club want to cheat with the belts or low blows, Suzuki-gun are always going to be there with the whiskey bottles and so and so. So for example, when El Phantasmo tried to kick Desperado with his boot, Kanemaru came in to distract the ref to stop that. However, for me, it was the final sequence that sort of elevated this. El Phantasmo took his boot off, obviously going to like hit Desperado to get the win. Despy managed to get that boot off him with the help of Kanemaru and punched him with it. The funny thing is, you could have just had that, but they sold this idea of the boot because after Despy did it and eventually did his Pinche Loco for the win, you could see the pain on Desperado's hand. Like, it's a serious thing. So even though we have still got the century's biggest mystery of what is in El Phantasmo's boot, Suzuki-gun got the win and I was over the moon. Obviously, if I was excited about that one, we had another Suzuki-gun victory for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag titles. And again with the junior titles, there's been issues in the past, but like I've been a bit like meh on it. But you know what? Also, I'm not a fan of triple threats. But however, the teams of Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi with the amazing Miho Abe, Chaos's Goto and Yoshihashi, and Naito and Sanada from Los Ingobernables de Japón, the six of them have been having amazing feuds. And this was just like probably one of my favourite tag matches, like title matches I've seen. But what was so interesting about this match was how fast paced it was. Obviously they started quickly trying to get each other out the ring. At one point there was the Chaos and LIJ guys, and Naito put up the fist bump just to be attacked by Suzuki-gun. There was the high flying of Naito and Sanada, which is a bit more like unpredictable side. The strength of Goto and Taichi, the submission, and sort of, I compare Zack Sabre Jr.'s moves to Butter because he is so smooth and sleek. And then just Yoshihashi, who I have a soft spot for, obviously. And what I think was especially good about this is not that, just the fact that everyone had a chance to shine, and that they treated it like a proper like triple threat. So if there was someone in the ring, even if it wasn't their team, they would break up the pin because that is going to affect them. We also saw each of the guys sort of change their offense. I mean, at one point, we saw Hiroki Goto fly over the top rope. That never happens. Like, Hiroki Goto is not a high flyer. And there was not one person who looked weak in this. It seemed that the LIJ team was going to be beating Chaos. However, at the quick last minute, Taichi tagged in, and with the help of Zack, who kept Naito Abu, hit his Black Mephisto to get the win over Yoshihashi. Doesn't tear away from what Yoshihashi did, just cements Suzuki-gun as major players in New Japan. We then had a break where we got the G1 brackets. I will talk about that in another video. All I'm going to say is, no Jay White, which means no J1, which means after 4 years of wrongly predicting Jay White to win, I can't even predict him this year. But like I said, it's a pretty decent lineup considering everything, and I will speak about that when we get closer to the time. We then had the two final matches. As expected, we started the second half with Hiromu versus Robbie. And as expected, like everyone knew this was probably going to be one of the standout matches. However, they probably didn't expect it to be as good as it did. Going in, everyone just assumed that Hiromu was going to wipe the floor with Robbie. Not because Robbie is a bad wrestler, but because Hiromu is like the golden boy of New Japan. And to start with, it seemed like that was the case. Hiromu had this newfound momentum. He was literally crazy, like throwing Robbie as if he was like a sack of potatoes but weighed nothing. Robbie, on the other hand, like he did with Desperado and like he has done every time since he's come to the company, didn't take any of that pressure. He focused on himself and does what he knows he can do best, and that is wrestle an amazing style. Like in the junior tag match, he was focusing on Hiromu's leg because obviously we know that he sets up for his Ron Miller special. Tried a few times to get his turbo backpack because, like, knowing any juniors, they want to get things done very quickly. But it slowly started to go on, surprisingly. So I think I like blinked for like 2 minutes. So I was like, oh, might go and just check my phone. Robbie was pretty much in control for the final set. He continued targeting that leg and in the end managed to get the win, and his defense against Hiromu, not only cementing that he deserves the title, but that he deserves more recognition in this company because he is there to stay. Now initially I had some doubts about our main event. It was Evil versus Shingo Takagi for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You can see why I had my reservations. It was even worse when Evil came out with Dick Togo, Yujiro, and Sho. Why did he come out with Sho? Because Sho is now Bullet Club. My heart is broken. However, to start with, it was like shocking. Like, it was your typical like Evil match. Actually managed to make Shingo not look as good as normal. Luckily, Red Shoes had enough. After several times of Abe getting knocked off at the at the announcers table, he banished them from the ring, and we actually got some, I was going to say decent wrestling. We got some amazing wrestling from Shingo, who once again showcased his strength, his heart, his passion. But I mean, like, it was like Evil did alright. As expected, Dick Togo managed to find his way back into the arena. But then we had Ibushi come out. Then the other members of Bullet Club came out, and then like after what seems like forever, Naito and Sanada came out. The biggest thing I found hilarious was their match was like 2 matches ago. Naito came out in his ring gear still, yet Sanada had managed to change into some really nice jogging bottoms. Contrasts. But with the help of LIJ, Shingo proved that once again he is a superior wrestler, one of the best in the world, and hit his Last of the Dragon to get the win. I was just like relieved because it had been a really amazing 2 days, and I was a bit worried after obviously Suzuki-gun and Robbie defended their titles. I thought Evil might win, but New Japan did the right thing going into the G1. So yeah, I feel like that might be a bit of a long video just because there was so much action. But let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the show. Was there a match that stood out? Was your heart breaking the entire weekend knowing that Sho is now Bullet Club? Make sure to let me know in the comments, and as always, talk to me on social media. My Twitter is @wrestling_chat. Make sure to comment, share, like, and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon. Bye guys!